So, we going to we going to stop this music real quick for a second here, folks. Listen, it is your boy, SportsRap D, in the building. Good morning, Heat 100 Radio listeners. On the TuneIn app is where you can get us, or you can get us on heat100radio.com. But again, it's your boy right here with you in studio, live on Facebook at SportsRap Podcast Group LLC is the group page. On Instagram as well. Let's see here. On Instagram, we got Yellow Bowman. You know where to find me at there at SportsRap_D. She wants to join the video, so we're going to try and see if we can get her in here. So let's see what's going on. You know what it is, folks. It's Monday morning. It is opening day for Super Bowl. So we will definitely see what's going on with that. I don't know what's going on with this live because it's not joining you in right now, but I know you here. So I'll try and keep working on it. If it pops up, it pops up. If not, just stay tuned. I know you where, you know there. Lowell Rich, thank you for telling me to keep up the good work. I definitely appreciate that. Appreciate you tuning in every week as well. So you know what we do here. Like I said, we got news and stuff we're going to get to. I got a couple scores from the NBA. We give you the final clinching game of the NHL All-Star Game schedule. I'll give you that in a second. I don't know why you can't hear me. I just turned my volume up on the phone. So I'm here, though, but I'll work on that. I don't know what the problem is with the volume there, but I got my volume up, got everything up in here. So we'll work on that all while we go by. Just let me know if anything changes, but I'm sure if you tune in, maybe you need to turn your volume up a little bit on your phone, but I just turned mine up. Okay, cool. Okay, that's good. I'm glad you can hear me now. So let's get right to the news and updates. Like I said, also Facebook, SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page. You can get there and tune in. Like I'm sure I see two people, so I'm sure that's my guy Richard. And good morning, nephew. Which auntie is that, or which uncle is that? You need to let me know. Like I said, if you're on Facebook, one of my aunts just timed in, I think. So let me know who you were. So I got 3 people there. Sure, I'll get some more people. Yeah, okay, cool. Sure, I got some people there on Facebook, and I got some more people that'll probably catch up and tune in on Instagram. So let's get to it. We all know that Kyrie Irving requested a trade over the last several days, but amazingly, within a couple days of that request, a trade was made. Kyrie Irving was just yesterday announced that he was traded to the Dallas Mavericks. I will give you all the details on that trade when I get to the NBA segment of the show. The 49ers and Jimmy G are likely to part ways again, which makes the regrouping for the 49ers a little tough. And I say that in the sense that you're going to let Jimmy G walk again. Okay, fine and well. So you got Brock Purdy, who was hurt, and it was later reported after the Eagles game that he'll be out for approximately 6 months. Your initial guy that you had initially given the keys to the bus to, Trey Lance, has had a major injury. Not sure how his progress is or when he'll be able to return. Ryan D21, thanks for joining in on Instagram, my guy from Westchester. Appreciate you, bro. Again, so that poses some difficulties for the 49ers, and like I said, in their regrouping. Again, you don't know what your quarterback situation is right now. Now you're just going to figure that they let Jimmy G walk. So we'll see what happens. And like I said to one of my partners here, I said that from the early part when Trey got hurt. I said also, even when he does come back, and like I said, we don't know when he'll be at. We don't know his timetable as of yet. But when he comes back, due to the severity of the injury that he sustained, he will be a different player. And I'm not saying that he's going to have a major fall off. We don't know that, definitely. I'm not saying he's not going to be as good a quarterback as people thought he was. What I'm basically saying is biological or physically, with that type of injury that he sustained, his mobility and some of the things that he did with his legs are going to change. It's just a known fact because of the makeup of the body and the severity of that injury. So also, again, like I mentioned, even if it could possibly happen with the Eagles, Their defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, great coordinator, has now taken his opportunity and is now becoming the head coach of the Houston Texans. So things are going to change on that defense. And that's all I'm saying. And I said the same thing about the Eagles, that it could possibly work because there's talk about Jonathan Gannon being interviewed once the Super Bowl is over for teams. He may take the job. We don't know. Again, like I always say, when you get that opportunity, you a lot of times, more times than not, you got to take it because you don't know if or when it will present itself again. So when you get that opportunity, you got to take it. So the only difference I said with the Eagles situation is if that happens with Jonathan Gannon, they already have a contingency plan in place and have a favorite of who they want to replace him. So we'll see what happens with that anyway. Like I said, I just mentioned D'Amico Ryans is now the new head coach of the Houston Texans. Kellen Moore has left the Cowboys, and he will be the new offensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Chargers. Tom Brady retires once again. We'll see how long that lasts. Sean Payton, Saints and the Broncos make a trade involving a coach. Okay, in this trade, Sean Payton goes to Denver, comes out of retirement, goes to Denver to be their new head coach. In this trade, the details, the Saints, in return for Sean Payton, they get a first-round pick in 23 and a second in 24. The Broncos get Sean Payton as their new coach, and they get a third-round pick in 2024. Timberwolves and the Magic get into a brawl over the last couple days. The NFL admits to a stark rise in concussions in 2022. Took them long enough to admit that, but, I think the issue with them announcing this and probably doing a little bit more research into it was the Tua situation, because it was a big mess. So that was like a huge black eye, and I think they're looking to try and possibly clean that up a little bit if they can. There was a caddy who reportedly rushed to the hospital after he collapsed at Pebble Beach. Dillon Brooks of the Memphis Grizzlies has been suspended one game after his incident with Donovan Mitchell. The NFL is going to discuss the hip drop tackle. They're talking about outlawing that tackle. It's a tackle that injured Patrick Mahomes and Tony Pollard. The NBA trade deadline is coming up. The day is the 6th, so that's actually this Thursday, the 9th. The NBA All-Star Weekend is also coming up as well. That is 17th through the 19th in Utah. R.I.P. to Bobby Beathard. And Steph Curry is out indefinitely with the partial ligament and membrane tear in his leg. So we don't know when he'll be back. I hate it when they use that word indefinitely because that just means that they don't know as well. So we'll see what happens with that and see how things play out with that, folks. That is your news, your updates, and everything for February the 6th, 2023. So, moving along, folks, it is Black History Month. And you know what we do here in Black History Month, and then we also do it in Women's History Month. What we do is we acknowledge, pay homage, and remember or reminisce of our fellow people, African Americans, who have made some impact in any type of way in sports. So today, for our first honoree, Simone Biles, the 5-time Olympic medalist. She needs no introduction, of course. We all know who she is. She has quickly become one of the most dominant athletes in the world. In 2019, at the Fig Artist Gymnastics World Championships, she achieved her greatest feat yet, when she captured 5 world medals, bringing her total to 25, which is more than any other gymnast in history. So with that, we honor Simone Biles becoming the most decorated gymnast in world championship history. Stay tuned, folks. We'll have more of those along the way. Okay, cuzzo, that's cool. Appreciate you for tuning in as much as you could. So we got some scores for you. Some NBA scores from yesterday. The Magic get by the Hornets 119-113. The Cavs get by the Pacers 122-103. Sixers fall in a game of 2 halves to the Knicks. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on. 108-97. The Raptors get by the Grizzlies 106-103. The Kings fall to the Pelicans, 136-104. And the Timberwolves beat up on the Nuggets, 128-98. No Joker there, so I'm sure they'll have some type of excuses as to why they got beat by 30. But no one will talk about that. If there was another way that they could dig deep and find something to say about the Sixers losing to the Knicks, I'm sure the mainstream media was good. But I'm sure my guy George Lynch is happy. Stephen A. Smith, you two guys, I'm sure, are happy with the Knicks win over the Sixers. So, with that being said, folks, we know next Sunday is the Super Bowl, and today is actually opening day, what they like to call it, because there's like a week-long worth of events for the Super Bowl. It's a huge event. Like I said, it's arguably the most decorated sports moment of the year in this country, arguably outside this country as well. But today is opening day, so there's a lot of media stuff going on, interviews and press conferences and things of that nature. So you can probably check all that out on ESPN, NFL Network, stuff like that if you're really into that. If not, me personally, I'm not really into that. I'm just going to wait for the game. So the Eagles, again, right now open up as a 1.5 point favorite. I'm actually okay with that. You know, I don't think that this game is going to be a blowout either way. And I say that because of some things that have transpired within the last couple weeks. Going back to Championship Sunday, the week off, and you know, whatever has taken place. So some of this stuff I brought to you on Thursday when I was at the Drake Tavern. So, you know, doing just some research and checking out some things and keeping up with the prerequisites for the Super Bowl. I found some things, and I found something that I thought was interesting. It was position group advantages. Okay, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There were 8 categories that were listed. Okay, we'll run through these real quick, like I did on Thursday. In the quarterback category, the edge goes to the Chiefs. Running back and wide receiver, they have the edge going to the Eagles. The tight end, of course, they say the Chiefs. No arguments there. Offensive line and defensive line, Eagles, definitely defensive line is no question, but I like the fact that the offensive line is getting their just due. Linebackers, they make that a draw. And then the secondary, they give the advantage to the Eagles. So we'll take the draw out, make that even. So that means out of the 7 remaining categories, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 of those categories go to the Eagles' favor. If you add that draw in and you give 1 apiece, that would be 5-3 or 6-3, whatever, however you want to do it. But out of the 8 total categories, like I said, we'll take the draw out. Let's do that. Let's just take the draw out. Because that's even. Let's take the draw out. And with the remaining 7 categories, the Eagles are favored in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the remaining 7. Okay. So we'll see what happens. And again, we all know the situations there. We talked about injury reports for the Eagles. Basically, a lot of guys on this injury report were just rest. Some of them were just coming back from injuries to play in the championship game, and they got that week, so they're giving them some rest. Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Avonte Maddox, and Robert Quinn. Like I said, all of those were listed as rest during the practice week. On the other side of the ball, on the Chiefs side, guys that did not practice, McCole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, LaJarius Sneed. Limited practice was Willie Gray, and then full practice you had Mahomes, McKinnon, Pacheco, T. Smith, and Jay Watson. So, again, like I said, the Eagles are 1.5 point favorites going into the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to change much. Big Walt, cuzzo, what's happening? Good brother, good morning. I don't think it's going to change much. And again, I don't think that the game is going to be a blowout on either way. I think it's going to be a tough fought game. And I just feel like, again, like I mentioned last week, I just feel different, a little different about this going in, and it's not like a nervous difference or anything like that. It's a very, very much confidential, not confidential, but it's a confident feeling. Like I mentioned to you all, I mentioned that I felt like this team was a touch better than the 2017 team that won it all. Again, like I mentioned, no discredit to Nick Foles. He did what he had to do. He took the advantage of that opportunity that he was given and played his you-know-what off and won a Super Bowl. As far as quarterbacks, because of the athleticism and the extras that Jalen Hurts has in his game, I would give that advantage between those two to Jalen Hurts. The wide receiver core right now, I think, is better. The defensive line, like we talked about that on many occasions, our defensive line rotation, in essence, we have two starting caliber defensive lines. Secondary has tightened up, has gotten better. The linebacker play has gotten better, and then we know what the offensive line is. So I feel very confident. Again, you look at the other side of the ball, and we know what Patrick Mahomes is, but he is slowed down. No, because I can't make it out to Arizona. I wish I could make it out there, but I'm going to be there in spirit. The other side, where we talk about Patrick Mahomes and that high ankle sprain. That high ankle sprain is an injury that could very well become a nagging injury. We also understand that he's not going to be 100%, even with the 2 weeks off, because he played on it. He got hurt in the divisional, and he played on it in the championship game. So, in essence, he really only had 1 week of rest. So he's not 100%, and that somewhat limits his mobility. I heard something on the radio yesterday where he talked about his tape job and how he was able to play in the championship game, and they also said where the discrepancy was in that tape job, where he was cool to drop back and throw the ball, but there were still difficulties with his side-to-side motion, range of motion, his lateral movement. And ironically, the tape guy there in Kansas City is former Eagles athletic trainer and tape guy, who's a very highly touted in the league. But again, like we said, with that high ankle sprain, your mobility lateral side to side is definitely going to be limited. And because you played on it, and then again, it's like I said, with the limited mobility that he will have, it kind of gives an extra advantage to that Eagles defensive line. And the reason I say that is like I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. When you look at traditionally, when you look at defensive lines and you have platoon players, okay, you have your starting rotation. And usually, typically, when you put your second guys in, your platoon guys in, you tend to lose a little something. It may be big, it may not be big, but traditionally, you tend to lose a little something. When you get to that second unit. In this case, this year, for this Philadelphia Eagles team, it's not that. You would basically don't lose anything. Again, the defensive line, platoon guys, the rotation, if you want to, whatever word you want to choose to use, these guys are all starter caliber. So, with the injuries to the wide receiving core, the injury to their dynamic running back or all-purpose guy, Pacheco, it's going to be tough for them going up against this front. Like I said, with the limited mobility of Patrick Mahomes. And again, I'm not taking any discredit. I know what he is. I've seen him do some things. But I don't think he's faced a consistent 60-minute pressure defense like this Eagles front is going to bring on Sunday. The secondary, we got CJ back. We got our stud Avonte Maddox back in that corner slot. So, we got the league leader in interceptions back there. We got James Bradbury and Big Play Slay on the other side. So there's two shutdown corners. And then you look at the other side of the ball, And these guys have been playing well for the Chiefs, but they're rookies. It's a difference when you play regular season, and then you get to certain games in the playoffs where your team is either so dominant or so far ahead in the points where it becomes or it appears easier to you than it really is. So now you step into a game which is the biggest game of the year, a lot of pressure, and there's going to be pressure from who you're facing on the other side of the ball. So again, like I said, yeah, that D-line is like 10 deep because of absolutely. Again, them being rookies, having to deal with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And, there's a rumor out that one of those corners is like wasn't a D1 product. And some people will argue that, he's a D2 product, he's not a D1, so Devontae's going to eat him up. You could say that on the surface, face value, you can say that. But again, it's not necessarily always the case. You can find some gems in D2, but I also think that Devontae Smith has an advantage there. And again, it's a different animal when you're now playing. Now it's like, the playoffs are, we're one and done. But this is the biggest one. This is the one that means everything. Everything is what this game means. I think the Eagles and their system and the chatter that's around the Eagles, where they are going into this not so much like it's just another game on the schedule, but as far as their routine, they haven't broken anything. They're keeping their routines and everything in order. They're staying focused. They're determined. I like, the clip that's been going around on the internet with Jalen Hurts is like, coach, I forget the coach's name. He said, Coach so-and-so said, dogs are hungry. He said, we ain't done it. I'm starving for this. So, I think he still has that chip on his shoulder. And, he's just one more win, one step away from, I think, silencing a lot of the naysayers. I mean, he's beginning to do that right now. But I think if he goes out Sunday and he wins this Super Bowl, I feel that even more naysayers will come to the forefront and admit that they were wrong. Again, I feel like he was determined to be better, determined to show that he could be the franchise quarterback, and then it got recognized and his coaching staff adjusted. And like I mentioned, they made this offense, or they catered this offense to his skill set to where they can get the best out of their star player, and he can get the other star players involved. So I think they did a very good job. Again, hence they went to the Super Bowl. They made it to the Super Bowl, so he did a very good job, I believe. Like I said, we know what Patrick Mahomes is, and I don't think it's going to come to the point where we're going to have to try and outscore them. I think that our defensive line is going to wear on that offensive line. The offense is the way, and opposite the way it usually is, and I think our offensive line is going to wear a little bit on that defensive line of the Chiefs. I do also know one thing. I know somebody better figure out a way to block Hassan Reddick. Because if they don't, he could sneakily come out with the MVP of the Super Bowl. Very sneakily. And he's shown it that you can't do it with a tight end, just a tight end. He's picked up on a lot of stuff, so it shows the film work that he's done. Okay, Ron D says, bold prediction, Chad Henne will play at least the second half of the game. Ron, it's a very bold prediction. And it could happen, although I paid attention to the dialogue, although I couldn't hear it, but the dialogue on that sideline when he first got hurt, and speaking with Andy and the coaching staff. So it's going to take a hell of a lot to keep him out of that game. If there's any possibility that he feels that he could go back in and play. It might go to one of those moments where they'll probably have to take his helmet and have him come out on the sideline, and then they'll have to hide his helmet so he won't play. But, if Chad Henne has to come in on the fly, again, we're healthy. And, I like that. I've always, past several years, if you listen to the show, if you talk to me about sports or anything like that, I've always been one to say that the defense has kept us in a lot of games. The defense has won some games for us. And again, there's no discredit to the offense. I have had some moments where I felt like the offense could play better. But, most of the time they do their part. But again, I think the biggest part of this team, the biggest staple of this team is the defense. Yeah, Big Wall. I think they'll definitely come up with a game plan for Kelsey. Because in my opinion, he is the biggest threat. Like I said, in the position advantages that I just read off, they gave it the tight end advantage to them. And he's very, very dynamic. Arguably the best, if not one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, ours is not too shabby either, but I understand your point. And I think it'll be a game plan set up for them where because you know how it usually ends up in the formations and everything. Not more times than not, you get a linebacker or a safety that ends up on the tight end or the running back. You know how that goes when they come out of the backfield or the tight end or whatever. But I think what may happen is we have such a ball hawking secondary that I think C.J. Gardner in some moments will be the help on Kelsey. I think T.J. Edwards and Kaiser White will also be able to run with him. But again, like I said, I think what they'll try to do is make things, because I don't think you can take away Kelsey. I think it's just like what Cuzzo said. You have to control him. So I think what they'll do is they'll make it difficult for the Chiefs to get him the ball. And I'm sure the Chiefs will adjust and make ways or find ways to get him the ball. But I think the Eagles will definitely make it difficult. Try to make them look other ways and then have to come back to Kelsey, possibly. So, yeah, again, big, bold prediction by Ryan D. And, yeah, great chime in by Cuzzo Big Walt, 64. But, like I say, I don't, and it's not just because of the injury, but the injury does play a part in it to Patrick Mahomes. It does. I mean, it's natural. But I still think that this Eagles team has showed me throughout this entire season, especially the last game of the season when Hurts came back after missing those 2 games, what he did in the 2 games in the playoffs. And again, you look at the numbers in the 2 games. The Giants game, huge numbers. San Francisco game, not great numbers. But we saw something, or the Eagles coaches saw something where they didn't have to use Jalen Hurts as much as people thought they would. And they got the win. I mean, it's unfortunate that their quarterback got injured, but both of their quarterbacks actually. But that's the nature of football. And then again, that just shows you how good this defensive line is. And in that note, when you bring up, and I'm sure everybody's seen it, the comments by Brandon Ayuk, where he said the Eagles got very lucky. Listen. I take that for what it's worth. You guys in San Francisco team thought that you had it. You came in with the number 1 ranked defense, and I give you all the credit for that. But I don't feel like it was luck. So you said that it was luck. I think there was a game plan laid in place. I think there was some determination on the Eagles team that were up to the challenge just a bit more than what San Francisco was coming in with the accolades that San Francisco had. The Eagles were right there. I mean, hell, the team had 70 sacks a season for a reason. It wasn't a fluke. Everybody that watched any football this year saw it. I don't know what Brandon Ayuk was watching other than if he was watching anything at all. But the defense has been the defense that it was that Sunday all season long. All season long it's been that defense. So I don't know where the luck comes in. We had an injured offensive lineman that basically put the clamps on arguably the defensive player of the year and Mr. Bosa. Bosa was basically a non-factor in that game. Greenlaw, Warner, basically non-factors in that game. And if you ask me, that's because Eagles coaching staff came up with a plan to figure out how to get these guys to do things that they weren't used to doing, in my opinion, as far as covering offensive players. I mean, hell, they ran the ball on this team. Every touchdown that the Eagles scored was off the ground. They made some plays in the air, but it wasn't a big game in the air. And this is another reason why I think the Eagles have a big chance, because typically what we've seen from the Eagles receivers, if they don't have a good game one game or a huge game one game, one or both of them comes back the next week and has something big. I'm just telling you what I saw. So again, I know the Eagles' defensive line was the better defensive line. And I gave them the props. I said their secondary did a very good job because the Eagles had to run the ball a lot more, and they did some things that I saw in that game. So the secondary did their job. It was the rest of the defense that got frustrated with the things I think that the Eagles were doing on offense. So for you to say it was luck, and we can flip the switch and say, oh, y'all had luck too, because I posted it and, they talked about the Eagles didn't play anybody. Go back and look at who Brock Purdy played. And I said this a few times leading up to this game, or the possibility of this game. I said to a lot of people, I said, looking back, and I said, I'm not taking anything from Brock Purdy. He took advantage of the opportunity like he was supposed to. No arguments for me there. And again, I also said that Kyle Shanahan is a really good coach, and he does things for his quarterbacks that makes things easy for them, which is what coaches are supposed to do. So he gets a lot of credit for that as well. I also said, even with him playing 4 years in college, being a rookie at this level, going up against a defense or a type of defense that you have not seen in your tenure of playing so far, is going to be somewhat of a surprise to you. Again, the sack that he got injured on was a basic football play. So there was no luck there. No one blocked Hassan Reddick. He got a clean shot at the quarterback. I mean, he's on the field. He's a football player. He got hit as he was throwing the ball. Turns out, elbow injury. And after the fact, turns out he's going to be out 6 months. So where do you go for quarterback? Brandon Ayuk. Where was the luck in that? It was a football play. I don't recall Brandon Ayuk having a monster or great game either to be talking it was luck. So, I don't know where all that came from, but I just had to touch on that a little bit because I don't think it was luck. Like I said, the Eagles just showed to be the better team. You saw it with the penalties. The frustration set in, and they got buku penalties on the number one ranked defense. Major penalties on the number one ranked defense, which led me to believe again that the Eagles saw something in some tape and they knew or devised a plan to make these guys a little uncomfortable and try to have them do some things that they were not used to or comfortable doing as far as in their system. And it worked. The Eagles come out with a win, and you say, luck, you only scored 7 points. And you say this because, okay, you still got Christian McCaffrey. He scored the one touchdown. If you argue The Eagles came up with a good game plan because Deebo Samuel, great Deebo Samuel, no discredit from me. I love Deebo Samuel, what he does on the football field. He didn't do any of that Sunday. Just the Eagles. They were prepared. The Eagles, I think, were a lot more focused and a lot more prepared in that game. I think a little bit of the swag, a little bit of the braggadocio from the 49ers came back to bite them in the ass. Hence, they lost 31-7. I'm just calling it how I see it. Like, I say here at SportsRap, sports as I see it, and that's just basically how I see it. Folks, it's 11:32. I'm going to take my first break. When I come back, we are going to delve into, talk a little bit about this Kyrie Irving trade. We're going to talk a little Sixers, and then we're going to talk some All-Star stuff, some snubs, the All-Star selections. We're going to talk a little bit about the Rising Stars Challenge and who's in that game, things of that nature. So be sure you come right back. You know where. SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group on Facebook, Instagram at SportsRap_D. I will see you all right back here in just a second on SportsRap. Once again, welcome back to this installment of the SportsRap Podcast right here on Heat 100 Radio, heat100radio.com. You can also get us on the TuneIn app, as well as me. You know where you can get me. You know where to get me, at SportsRap_D on Instagram live right now, and also live on Facebook. SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page there. So get on back. Shout out to everybody that was in earlier. Ryan D, my guy from Westchester, Big Cuzzo, Big Walt, my other Cuzzo, Yellow Bowman, Tawanda, thanks for tuning in. Lowell Rich on Facebook, thanks for tuning in. Again, I had one of my aunts or somebody tune in. They said, keep up the good work, nephew. I'm not 100% sure who that was earlier this morning, so if you are back, please just chime in and let me know which auntie, which relative, which family member you were. I would love to give you your proper acknowledgement on the air. So, again, folks, we are back, and we are going to delve into some NBA stuff now. Real quick, talk a little bit of Sixers from that game yesterday. Again, that game for me yesterday, it was a tale of two halves, if you will. The Sixers came out in that first half, and it looked like they were just going to run away with that game. Run away with it. Overmatched by the Knicks. I still think they were overmatched, and I just think they got outplayed by the Knicks in the second half. They got hustled by the Knicks in the second half. I made a point talking to somebody yesterday that the Sixers had like 2 turnovers in the first half. Then they come out and they had 5 in the third quarter alone, like the very early parts of the third quarter alone. So, and then the Knicks just made shots in the second half. I don't know what happened. It was just one of those things where they couldn't buy a bucket in the first half, and then second half they just started making shots, and the Sixers couldn't. So again, it was a tale of two halves. We got them again on Friday. I'll be in attendance at the Wells Fargo Center on Friday for that game, so we'll get some retribution on Friday, I believe. I think it'll have a bad taste in the mouth. The Sixers remember how they played, and they'll get back in rhythm and get that game on Friday. NBA Power Rankings. This is as of the 4th, so this is as of Saturday. The Sixers had moved up to number 1. And they were followed by the Bucks, the Nuggets, the Celtics, and the Clippers, rounding out the top 5. Bottom 5, the Cavs, the Kings, the Grizzlies, the Nets, and the Knicks. That is the NBA Power, like I said, as of Saturday. The days of 6 years. So as of Saturday, those were the power rankings. They could have possibly changed a tad bit with the Sixers losing yesterday, but once I get them updated, maybe later today or tomorrow, I'll probably post them or let you know where the Sixers stand, if anything has changed. So we got All-Star Weekend coming. You know, it's always February. It's usually around Valentine's Day weekend, which I thought was always a little crazy. It's like Valentine's Day weekend. If you're a dude, you love basketball, like you ain't going to All-Star Weekend without your lady. It's Valentine's Day weekend. She not staying home and you go to All-Star Weekend. That's a no-go. That's more than likely not happening. Unless y'all got some type of understanding, which I don't get or whatever, but under normal pretenses, it ain't happening. But anyway, this year is on the 17th to the 19th because the Valentine's Day is like in the middle of the week. It's like a Tuesday or something. So it's the following weekend. It's the weekend after Valentine's Day. So guys, fellas, if you want to sneak away or try and get away, you better do what you need to do on Tuesday so you can catch that flight on Thursday if you want to get there or whatever. No, I'm just joking, folks. Look, if you can get there, enjoy it. I hopefully before I completely close my eyes, I will get to an All-Star game. I've been to events when it was here not that long ago or a little while ago. I was here. It was here, and I went to the practices and I went to the NBA Jam session. Had that experience. But I've never actually had the experience of being at the Sunday game. So that's on my list of an event that I would like to attend before. Again, like I said, I close my eyes for eternal rest. All-Star starters and reserves have been selected. I gave you the starters last week, and then I did the reserves at the Drake Tavern on Thursday. So let's just go back through real quick. Starters pools for the East. Giannis is the top leader as the captain there. You got Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, and Kyrie Irving. I wonder how that's going to change with Kyrie Irving now being in the Western Conference. But it really doesn't matter. They're going to pick teams. They're going to pick anyway. So I don't know if because he's moved over, if he'll go over to the West starters pool if someone's injured or something or whatever. They may do it. They may not. I don't know. But I'll keep my ears to the street and see if something happens or something transpires with that. In the West, LeBron is the captain there. Then the rest of the starters pool is Luka, Steph, Joker, and Zion. So there we go. Something that could possibly happen. If the NBA does it because of the trade with the Kyrie Irving situation, you could move Kyrie over to the starters pool in the West in place of Steph Curry, who will not be playing, as I told you, of his injury earlier when I opened the show. Then you could move somebody that should have been in the starters pool, Joel Embiid. And in the East is arguably probably going to have to move two people into the starters pool because I don't know if KD is going to be back to play. So you may get Joel Embiid and somebody else in that starting lineup, and you may get one of these snubs to be added in as an alternate. So with that being said, the reserves for the East. And in some of these, I have some question marks. My guy, Jersey Boy, Mr. Standback, thanks for tuning in, good brother. Appreciate you. I got some question marks about some of these reserves on both sides, the East and the West. So let me give you the names real quick. On the East, got Julius Randle, Bam Adebayo, DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, and Tyrese Halliburton. Yes, sir. No doubt, my guy. Appreciate you as well. So, you look at this East, okay? First name that I had a question mark about was Bam Adebayo. And again, I don't follow the Heat a whole lot. You know, I'm Sixers and then I'm overall NBA because of what I do. But I haven't heard a lot about Bam Adebayo this season. I don't know if I'm missing something or not, but I haven't heard a lot from him. And then I go and I look at the snubs and I see Jimmy Butler on the snub list. So I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know how that played out. Thanks for coming back, Ryan. Appreciate you. I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know how that played out. But you got Bam Adebayo in the reserves and Jimmy Butler not. In the reserves and Jimmy Butler not. The same way I don't understand how you got an injured KD in the starting rotation, the starters pool, and then you got Joel Embiid, back-to-back player of the month, leading the league in scoring, and he's not a starter. He's a reserve. Somebody somewhere help me make it make sense. And then you got the current league leader in assists, James Harden, the Beard, a snub, not even a reserve. But you got Halliburton in as an All-Star? Big question there. I don't see how you got Halliburton in the East over James Harden. Hell, for that matter, I don't see it Jimmy Butler or even Jalen Brunson. And let alone Siakam. But you got Halliburton in the reserves. And these guys that I just told you, Brunson, Harden, Butler, and Siakam, all not even in at all. Confusing. De'Aaron Fox, also a snub. Anthony Edwards, also a snub. And I'm sure because of injuries and time missed, Anthony Davis and Devin Booker snubs. So, like, those are probably the only two that I would be okay with because, like I said, because of the injuries and things. But again, like I said, James Harden leading the league with 11 assists. And he's like 7th in the MVP ladder right now. And he's not even an all-star, not even a reserve. Again, like I said, I think that may change, though, because, like I said, the move of Kyrie, if the NBA does it, the move of Kyrie over to the Western Conference with Steph being out, he could move into that starters pool over there. And then they could add someone in to replace as an alternate. And then, again, we don't know the situation with KD. In the East, you could easily add someone in because we don't the uncertainty of him playing or not. And then the missing of Kyrie Irving getting traded, you can put someone else up and add someone in. So we'll see what the NBA does there as far as with the Eastern Conference and their starters and then their pool players. In the West, on the pool, in the reserves, John Morant, Domantas Sabonis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Paul George, Damian Lillard, Lauri Markkanen, and my question mark on here, Jaren Jackson Jr. Again, when I say my question marks, I say that because I watch enough basketball to see. And Jaren Jackson Jr., although very good, I do that. I give credit where credit is due. He's very good. I still don't believe that he should have been an All-Star over Anthony Edwards. And like I said, I get the possible situation with Booker with the time missed from the injury. But if you think about it, if there was no injury, Devin Booker would definitely be in the starters pool. And one of these guys, probably Zion, would be taking Jaren Jackson's place on the reserves. And he would not be in at all. So, I think the voting in the NBA All-Star stuff is skewed. Like I said, you got KD in there because the fans get like 50% of the vote for the starters. So, of course, they're going to vote for who they want to see the most. I get that. But then, the NBA has to go back and make adjustments for situations like I just mentioned. 2 guys in the starters pools, one in each conference. One we know is definitely not going to play in the All-Star game. The other, we don't know. It's some uncertainty. We're not 100% sure if he's actually going to play or not. So there could be some jostling. There could be some alternate players added in on both sides, East and West. But again, like I always do, I'll definitely keep my ears to the street and let you know what's going on. Again, trade deadline coming up February 9th, which is Thursday, probably around 4 p.m. Heard some things about the Sixers. Nothing like concrete, but we've heard that they have had some conversations as far as acquiring another backup center. Apparently there's confusion on using and how to use Montrezl Harrell and Paul Reed. And just to backtrack, some of the things that I said about both of those 2 guys, and I also felt that they should have gotten another legit backup center. I felt like they could have kept Bassey, but I understood the move with Bassey because of the money and the tax situation. So I understood the move. But I felt like they should have had somebody else in play. I think the issue is, as far as with Paul Reed, he's not a 5. I can't even say that Paul Reed's a 4. Like right now, I don't think you can define him as a position. I think you can just put him as a basketball player because of his energy and his athleticism. Montrezl Harrell is just undersized at the 5. I felt like you could have used him as a 4 some moments alongside Joel instead of PJ, because Montrez can score a little bit more than PJ does. But again, I think it's just that confusion of where to fit these guys. So they're in talks of looking for a 5. Some of the names that have emerged: Andre Drummond, Nerlens Noel, very, very hot name, Jared Vanderbilt, Kim Birch, Mike Muscala, and Taj Gibson. So again, the hottest name right now is Jared Vanderbilt. And I think he's someone that can come in and produce right away, someone that can play right away. I'm not really looking at Nerlens Noel, although he has improved some. I don't want to revisit that situation. I think I would be more comfortable with either Andre Drummond or Jared Vanderbilt. And then like third on my list would probably be Taj Gibson in that deal. But again, like I said, we got till Thursday, and I'll be watching and reporting and posting on my social media and letting you guys know what information I find out and sharing with you, as I always do. The MVP ladder, currently Joker and Embiid 1 and 2 again, 3, 4, and 5, Giannis, Jason Tatum, and Luka. Bottom half 5, KD at 6, James Harden at 7, DeMontis Sabonis, Randall, and Morant round out 8, 9, and 10. So we all have seen the news, and we know about the trade. Oh, before we get to the trade, let's talk about some more All-Star Weekend. We got the Rising Stars Challenge and all of that nature. The sophomores against the rookies, the G League guys. It'll be 2 teams selected. The most vote getter, I think, from the G League will be captains, and they'll get to pick these teams or whatever. Also, just of note for the All-Star game, the NBA regular All-Star game, the actual draft will not be like it has been the last couple of years, televised like a week before or days before. That draft is actually going to be a few hours before the actual game on Sunday. So I think that's going to be exciting. It's still going to be televised, but I think that's going to bring more excitement to it. It's really, really going to give you basically that true schoolyard feel what they're trying to build in that, what they do to draft and the way they have done it in the last several years. But I think this right before the game is going to have a greater impact on the game, and I think it's something that will probably end up sticking around for a little bit. So moving into the Rising Stars Challenge, the player pools, I don't have the 3-point contest, the dunk contest, and all that other jazz. So as soon as I get that, I will definitely post it and share it with you guys. So as far as the sophomores, and this is the sophomores pool, Jose Navarro, Scotty Barnes, Josh Giddey, Jalen Green, Quentin Grimes, Bones Highland, Evan Mobley, Troy Murphy, Alperen Springen, and Franz Wagner. For the rookies, Paolo Banchero, Jalen Duren. Shout out to Jalen Duren, the Philly native, and his being added into this pool. AJ Griffin, Jaden Ivey, West, I forget his first name, but Kessler, Mathurin of Sacramento, Rembard, I forget his first name, Jay Smith of Houston, Sochan, and Jay Williams from OKC. Out of the G League, S. Sissoko of the G League Ignite, Mr. Henderson, and Mr. Mojave King, all of the G League Ignite. Kenny Lofton Jr. of the Memphis Hustle, Matt McClung of our Delaware Blue Coats, so shout outs to him, L. Miller of the G League Ignite, and Scottie Pippen Jr. of the South Bay Lakers. Also during All-Star Weekend, they incorporated the HBCU Classic, which will be that Saturday at 4 p.m. featuring Southern University versus Grambling State. Now, get to this trade. We all know what happened. We all saw it. First thing first, Kyrie Irving asked for a trade. I think that came out about maybe, today is Monday, so I think it came out maybe like Friday. And then we turn around and days later, basically heading into the crunch, into the stretch of the trade deadline, again, like I mentioned to you, is Thursday. But wait, I got to backtrack in between there before the trade happened. So it might not have been Thursday. It might have been a little bit earlier in the week. There was a post put out, there's a statement put out that Nets were going to bench Kyrie Irving until a trade was facilitated after he requested a trade. Then we found out yesterday that he was traded to the Dallas Mavericks for Spencer Dinwiddie, who returns to the Nets, and Dorian Finney-Smith, an unprotected 29 first round, a second round pick in 27 and 29. So that's what they got. And then the Dallas Mavericks will get Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris. So in this trade, well, let's do a little bit of history. Let's talk about this for a second. A lot of people speculated maybe the Lakers. LeBron was actually or allegedly all in on reuniting with Kyrie. But again, we have to take into consideration the entire scenario of how we got to this point. We all remember, and I'm just giving you the backdrop of the story, which ultimately led to where we are now. We go back to the vaccine issue from the pandemic. All right, that's one thing. And you had KD wanting to trade. And then he retracts. And then they come back and they play. And they start playing. And then you got your issues, your small little inputs with Ben Simmons and his nonsense. Because he's allegedly hurt again. So now KD's hurt. Kyrie Irving put the team on his back, did what he does, and got some wins for him. Now Kyrie Irving says, I want to be traded. Brooklyn Nets say, all right, well, we're not going to trade. We're not going to play you until we find a trade for you. And again, people, you have to take into consideration when players ask for trades or request trades and all this nature, then you hear all the rumors about who's offering and who are the favorites and yada, yada, yada. One thing that we like to keep reminding you of here on Facebook, not Facebook, on SportsRap, is the fact that these guys have legally binding contracts. So in essence, the team, if they don't want to trade them, they don't have to trade them. I mean, look at the Ben Simmons situation. Sixers didn't have to make a move until it was something that they felt was beneficial to them, which they did. And then they went through the process. They fined him because he didn't want to come to work and all of that nature. So there's a legally binding contract in this whole situation. So the Nets, as far as business-wise, will do everything in their power to make a trade, but they will make a trade that's going to benefit them as well. So there was no way that Joe Tsai was going to satisfy Kyrie Irving after everything that transpired and send him to his ideal wish of a landing spot. So it wasn't going to go to the Lakers. Wasn't happening there. So in that issue, the Nets asked the Lakers for Russell Westbrook, Max Christie, Austin Reeves, 2 first-round picks, 1 in 27, 1 in 29, and pick swaps, which I'm sure the Nets didn't go for. The Suns offered Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, and picks. And the Nets also declined the Clippers' offer of Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann, a future first, 2 first-round pick swaps. They turned that deal down. So, Joseph Tsai, businessman that he is, and you could arguably stretch and say the shrewd businessman that he is, he said, oh, okay, well, you want to be traded. We'll facilitate a trade, but it's going to be on my terms. And it's going to be something where I can get something in return that's going to make me better either immediately or somewhere in the near future and possibly in the long run. So he ends up going to Dallas. He's going to play with Luka. Could very arguably be a 2-3 month rental, depending on the situation there, how it plays out. But you got Spencer Dinwiddie returning to New Jersey. I'm anxious to see how that situation plays out, where there was not a great accord when he was traded away from Brooklyn. So we'll see how it is when he's coming back. And now you look at the Nets roster. The the speculation of when KD will return, the unknowing, the ever-going unknowing of Ben Simmons. So now you look, and you can, for all intent purposes, for right now in the current present, you take KD out of the equation because he's injured. Take Ben Simmons out because he's allegedly injured. So now you have Spencer Dinwiddie coming in, who's a very capable scorer. Dorian Finney-Smith, solid player. But can either one of those two guys really, really, right now, be the guy to carry you until your star comes back? Also now, what does this mean for KD in the future? Will his shenanigans pop up again before the season is over or over the summer? Will he again revisit requesting a trade? Because now you look at their roster and there's basically nothing there. You could argue and debate and say that there could possibly be talk of dysfunction within the Nets organization, because now in 2 years you've lost 2 All-Stars. And although he's not an All-Star this year, but you lost 2 All-Stars. You lost James Harden, and now you just traded away Kyrie Irving. So you got Kevin Durant, but again, Kevin Durant's hurt, and he's hurt every year. So the rest of that roster is what? Royce O'Neal, good players. Again, like I said, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, Nick Claxton has begun to grow. But are any of those guys, with KD being out, and I don't even count Ben Simmons, really, because of everything that he does outside of basketball is just mind-boggling to me with the guy with so much talent. But with KD being out right now, can any one of those other guys really, conceivably, in your opinion, put this team on their back like Kyrie did in this little stretch before he just recently got traded and carry them to wins, to keep them in the conversation, keep them in contention, possibly until KD comes back? So it looks again like the Nets could possibly be falling into the play-in tournament or even maybe out of the playoffs this year as a whole. Now, I can almost guarantee, and I'm going to say, I'm not going to guarantee, but I'm willing to bet if the latter part of what I just said happens, if they fall completely out of the playoffs this year, I'm stretching maybe a little bit, but just knowing everything I've seen over this past year, KD may ask for a trade over the summer if they miss the playoffs. I mean, it may happen immediately if they miss the playoffs. But we'll see. If they make the play-in tournament, then what? You've only got KD. Like we said, he comes back. But can these other guys, like we like to say, hold it down and get you some legit solid wins that'll keep you afloat, keep you relevant, keep you in the conversation? We won't know until we get these moves in and we get to playing. So, we'll definitely keep an eye on it and see what happens. Like, it's crazy. And it always touches us in Philly when we see things like this with the Brooklyn Nets, because we went through that big thing with the Ben Simmons trade and who won the trade. So obviously, more and more, I don't know how many people are beginning to see it, because there were a lot of people that were on the side of the Nets and that the Nets won that trade. But I don't see it. I think the Sixers won that trade. When you look at it, going back to what we got rid of to get James Harden, okay, he was a little banged up, whatever. He wasn't himself. He was a little out of shape maybe last season. Okay, that's fine. Lauren, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining on Instagram. Appreciate you. Then we got him this year in full training camp, and we see what he's been. And again, like I mentioned way back when they made the trade, in no way, shape, or form did I feel like we were going to get the James Harden from Houston, because the years and the mileage was on him, and it wasn't going to happen. But if we could get what we're getting now, I think we would be in a good place, and it's been showing that we were in a good place. Again, like I said, yesterday, just a game of tale of two halves yesterday. But overall, in the stretch, they had the longest winning streak on the road in the NBA until yesterday. So you look at that trade, and again, like I said, we got Paul Millsap. Didn't work out with Paul Millsap. That's fine. We got James Harden, and we see with James Harden, like I said, he's leading the league in assists right now, ranked 7th in the All-Star race. I mean, in the MVP race. Okay? You look at the other side. We sent them Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond is no longer there. Andre Drummond, who went to Chicago, hasn't been playing well in Chicago, and is on the verge of possibly being traded or being bought out. Hence, he could possibly come back as well. Seth Curry is Seth Curry. You know, like I mentioned, no discredit to Seth Curry. I thought that in our playoff run last year and the year before that, he was the most consistent player from the season going into the playoffs. But he was somewhat of a liability because of his size. And again, he came here. He's a very good player for your bench. Unfortunately, when he was traded here, the makeup of the roster, like I have been saying since he was here and before he got traded, the makeup of the roster at the time, by default, he was the starter at the 2 guard. Ben Simmons. Totally different story. Like, that's a story in its own, you know, within that trade. So that's like the game within the game as far as the whole overall point about this trade. So again, you tell me who won this trade. You got a guy that's allegedly hurt again, one player that's not even there anymore, and one that has become a role player, but it doesn't seem like a prominent role player just yet for that team. So again, like I said, I feel like the Sixers won that trade. It's a lot of people that will probably still argue with me or debate with me about that. But I mean, you know, I'm only calling a spade a spade. I'm only telling you what I see in the makeups of these rosters. You know, the Sixers got better. Again, like I said, we still need that help at that backup 5. And I think something's going to happen prior to the trade deadline. I just don't know what. The rumored names have been Jaden Springer, Matisse Thybulle, Furkan Korkmaz. Most recently, there also has been possible little snickering about Montrez, maybe, or whatever. But I think you can keep Montrez. I think you can keep Paul Reed. And again, you know, the guys like Furkan who has fallen out of the rotation. Jaden Springer has not yet made it into the rotation. You know, there's also been a little bit of talk about P.J. Tucker, just like to get the money off the – but, you know, and then P.J. Tucker goes out and plays the game like he plays yesterday. Arguably his best game of the season as far as scoring-wise, offensively. Arguably his best game of the season yesterday. But with that being said, I don't get it. Like, I don't know what people are looking at. I don't understand what they're seeing. Again, like I said, we got Harden. And again, Paul Millsap's not here, but we replaced that. And the Knicks have not really replaced. Like, Ben Simmons has not been. He hasn't even been the early Ben Simmons that was here before he got into his own head and went left. He hasn't even been the Ben Simmons before that for the Nets. And they're beginning now to grow weary of his antics. So there's a strong possibility that he could be traded or just or benched indefinitely. We don't know what's going to happen. Pusha T, thanks for tuning in early this morning, or this afternoon rather. And the Nets are, like I said, you could debate that they're a dumpster fire. Again, like I said, the uncertainty of KD's return, they just made a trade for their best player that was remaining on that roster. So now, but let's just take KD off the picture because he's hurt. Who do you have as their best player? Who could you arguably say is their current best player right now? In my opinion, I would argue and say Spencer Dinwiddie. Because like I said, he can score the buckets, he can do what he does on offense, and he plays enough defense. But can he be the guy like Kyrie Irving was the guy while KD was hurt? I don't know. And I'm sure the Nets don't know. The Nets don't know who can be the guy right now, especially with this trade. I mean, Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, great pieces. But that's like all that the Nets have now are just pieces. It's like it's nothing there where you can say can be a dominant force. And then you look at the Sixers on the other side. The pick and roll game with Joel Embiid and James Harden has become something that is a force to be reckoned with right now. Can't say that about the Nets. And then they just lost their second best player in the trade. Best player's hurt. Best player gets hurt every year. Hopefully for the Nets, this earlier going into the All-Star break is better for them because maybe he'll be back around All-Star break or shortly after the All-Star break to give them some help because they're going to need it. And again, like I said, what's going to happen if they fall into the play-in tournament or even, for that matter, fall out of the playoffs as a whole? Will KD ask to be traded again? What will they do with Ben Simmons? And like I said, I've seen articles and I've seen write-ups that the coach is now even growing weary of him, And in my opinion, it's like, dude, like, just if you don't want to play, just don't play. Just, relinquish, negotiate a buyout and go on about your life. But strong arm robbery is what I feel like he's doing. Same way Jalen Rose felt. He wrote an article about it. He talked about it too. Strong arm robbery. Listen, again, like I said, if you don't want to play, dude, just give it up. Take the buyout, go back to Australia or go wherever you want to go. You want to go to Cali, go move out Cali, and do what you do. And we understand, we totally understood with everything that he went through before the trade from here with the fines and him wanting to sue and recoup some money. We knew it was all about the money. It was about the fame. It was more about that than it was about basketball. At least that's where I felt. And at that point, I was basically through. Again, like I said, I used the comparison between him and Joel Embiid and to talk about with Shaq. And I said, look at how Joel Embiid took that criticism, that constructive criticism, if you will, and he made himself a contender. He's been number 2. He's been a top contender for the MVP race of the league in the last 3 years, including this year. He's been the lead scorer in the league the last 2 years. So he's improved. He took that to heart and he showed them, look, this is what y'all say I need to be doing. Okay, this is what I'm doing. And this year he's done it even more where the way that they have him playing foul line in is what I love. And he's been dominating on occasion. Like he started out dominating yesterday, and I don't know what happened, how they changed the offense or whatever. But even in the other games, he's been dominating on the block, in the low post, like we've all fans here wanted him to do for a long time. So it's starting to get together. The light is really starting to come on. This might be a little dim, but it's getting brighter. And, we'll see what happens. We'll get there when we get there. So, the Sixers are in a good place right now. Like I said, it was a little dud yesterday in that game. But, again, we get them back on Friday. So we'll be able to recoup and get that win back. Thanks again for everybody that has tuned in to the show today. I definitely appreciate all the support. I'm glad you all enjoy what I do. So I'm going to call the service. Anyone that's tuned in, anyone that is definitely a listener, a follower. I know because you tell me what I do and how I do, but Instagram at SportsRap_D. Anybody that tuned in this morning or this most recent segment right now. Also Facebook, anybody that tuned in on Facebook, drop me a line. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you would like to see me do more of as far as with the show. So, with that being said, I got some scores, some schedules for you. The NHL returns tonight. You have Lightning and Panthers. Islanders are in town to face off against the Flyers. The Canucks and the Devils, the Flames and the Rangers, the Ducks and the Stars, and the Wild and the Coyotes. In the NBA today, the Celtics and the Pistons, the Cavs and the Wizards, the Clippers and the Nets, the Spurs and the Bulls, Kings, Rockets, Mavs, Jazz, Thunder, Warriors, Bucks, Blazers. As you know, folks, you know where to find me. At SportsRap_D on Instagram, like everybody did this morning. I appreciate again you all for tuning in. Facebook, SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page. Also on Twitter at SportsRap_D. You can get the webpage sportsrapradio.com and check out some info, some videos and stuff I have there. Also, you can get this audio on iHeart, Anchor, Spreaker, Spotify, and most of your podcast outlets. Also, folks, what I also need you to do is get over to YouTube. Search SportsRap TV. Make sure you subscribe to the page. Make sure you check out the videos that are there. There's a plethora of videos over there. Check out the videos, some old stuff, some current stuff. But make sure you hit the thumbs up on the videos that you like, and then hit that bell so you'll be alerted when new content is uploaded. And then also tell a friend to get over there and join and subscribe to that page as well. Once again, folks, it's a beautiful day today compared to the end of last week and yesterday. Maybe 51 degrees, I think, is the high today. So it's kind of nice. Get out and enjoy this Monday. Be great on purpose. Black History Month for me. Black History all the time. So we celebrate Black History Month this week. Oh, acknowledge something today. Buy black. Do something. And be great on purpose, like I said. Enjoy this day. It's nice out. It's lunchtime. So get out and get some of this air before it gets back chilly again. And you know what happens. I will be in the building Friday. Wells Fargo Center, Sixers versus Nets. And then Saturday, I will be in Delaware at the Chase Fieldhouse. Yes, I am on Apple, Tommy. Yes, I am on Apple. You just got to search Sports Rap Podcast, and you'll find it on there. If not, when I get to work today, I'll show you everywhere I am. Yes, I am, Tommy, on Apple Podcast. I'm going to type it in here for you so you can see it. Yes, I'm on Apple Podcast. So again, thanks for tuning in, everybody that has tuned in this morning. I definitely appreciate you. And again, like I said, the call to action. If you like what I'm doing, drop me a line, comment under this video, or a message on Instagram or on Facebook. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know what you like that I'm doing. And let me know what you would like to see me do more of, or what you would like to see me add into the show. Tommy, you're welcome. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Stay tuned. I will see you, like I said, live Friday, Saturday, and then right back here. And we will talk about an Eagles win next Monday after the Super Bowl. Peace, everybody. See y'all soon.